Hello and welcome to the program. I am Suren. Are you truly alive? Living in this very moment? Congratulations. Every time you concentrate on an event of yesterday, perhaps even a wartime moment you recall, or learn about what is being recalled and remembered as if it was happening in this very moment, you tend, in reality, to do some form of time travel. It feels as if you are there and then experiencing the event, the time, as if it was now happening right in this very moment, as you are thinking of it. You are then, in a sense, time traveling. You don't need a time machine or an equipment to do that for you, and your mind does it for you. Whenever you think of some event, whether it is imagined or yet to be, or written down and exhibited, or performed on stage, or in a film about the future event, probably as imagined by someone else, you are taken forward into a time of an imagined happening in the future. Although you are not quite certain that it has ever happened in the future or not, but that moment yet to come can entertain your mind as if it is happening right now in this very moment. And every moment you think about and imagine that it is happening right now, the past is already gone. And you now realize it. Every moment that you imagine about a future time yet to come, and you are not sure if it will ever happen unless you do something about it. And probably invent imagined scenarios or happenings and events of the past, based upon your knowledge and know-how about the events of the past. In fact, your traditional and parental training has already prepared you for the moment here to come. And it is not necessarily the reality you are living in the moment of now. However, every moment you experience that in here and now is happening in the real time. But as we finish the word, the real time, it has already become the past moment of now. Unless you concentrate and focus your mind into that moment that has just passed within your body self, you cannot experience it as it is, in a sense, a denial state. For you, as far as you are concerned, it is just gone. Your state of consciousness is as if you are on a new path, and you are walking along from a moment of a past destination where you were moments or even many years ago or many miles ago. You look at things, seeing or even imagining things that are already gone. They are not around you in this very moment. Unless, of course, you are able to look at the images you collected and the memories you can recall. You look ahead all the same, and on your pathway you see many roads going into distances far where you have not yet been. And you feel you still need to go there. And you keep on walking along and going towards it. While somehow you are experiencing something new in this very moment. It is as if you are a person or a thing. It's something that has imagined the consciousness of time. And there is a thing, maybe even a carrot, just placed in front of you, dangling. You are simply chasing it, like a donkey, for example. You just keep following it. You feel it now, that you are there, in the now, and at the same time, you are really nowhere. Are you with me so far? Good. Let us continue. When you are nowhere, do you recognize you as you? Are you perhaps imagining it, by any chance? Who do you think you may be? Are you really alive? Unless you are alive and conscious in this very moment, in the now, you are just like the air you are breathing in, and are simply a thought, perhaps even a presence, or part of something you cannot name, or even recognize. Your imagination creates your existence. That creates a feeling of being in the now. You eat, you drink, you live, you walk, you talk. You do all sorts of things, as we all do. And it encourages you to know that you are alive. You are indeed physical, solid, and going somewhere. And you are in truth measuring it with feelings, emotions of the time, the moments that flow like a river. And you are continually on the move and in the now. The moment you finish your words you think about, and which you may not be aware of, provides you with the knowledge that what you called as now is already the past. You have indeed moved ahead, and you are in your future now. As we finish the word now, you are already in the future now. What are you doing? And where are you at this moment in time? Who do you think you may be? Do you know? It feels as if you are like a little spark and broken off from a huge fire. It really is something really big without realizing whether you are deliberately forced into becoming that spark or perhaps even accidentally happening. You live floating into a direction you have no idea of, and eventually to become extinguished. Is that how it is? Just a tiny spark that happens, floating in the air or in any given space, and eventually disappears. Where did that fire take place? Where and when that tiny spark was? And where did it go now? This is how it feels to me. Here now, and indeed gone forever. Then the question comes to mind. Why there is something called consciousness, which is capable of thinking and aware, and which imagines. Are we only an imagination, perhaps? Are we possibly imagining ourselves? Throughout the centuries, we have been told that we are going to have a future where we will all be enlightened, or whatever else. However, where in the future will that be? Question. We are being told, be patient, be faithful, believe, and wait. Honestly, what are we waiting for? Our advisors did certainly not know what the future would be like by themselves, and only guessing and only imagining that some other sparks have informed to them. But was it really so? Have they been there? How would they know? Or did we know it beforehand, all along? Or are we still dreaming? If not, how is it possible that we can think in these terms? Is there truly a maker of that spark that we are enabled to identify it as us? Are we the central operator, and at least breaking into little sparks to experience what it is all about? And for what reason that spark happens in a given moment and the time? Is that moment probably an extended period of the phenomenon? Are we that moment that is happening? Can we identify it as consciousness we experience? If we are that spark existing for a moment, in the now, and when that spark is no more, what happens to us? Are we altogether the thing that is gone, or remaining just as a memory? If we are just a memory, then it can probably be recalled and relived in that very moment, as it happened before. And could it be the only reality of it all? Honestly, are we real? Are we limited or forever? Are we just a moment and no more in that moment, which we may consider a time of forever? What is the true nature of the entire cosmos, let alone time? Is it made up of tiniest moments we consider as now? Or is it the eternity which we consider as the moment as we keep on measuring the tiny distances within the endless, timeless eternity? We are being told if we are happy, we know that we are real. And the very moment we can observe our own selves happy, we discover the realism of self in the now. The happiness is as it was in the past, and you had a good memory of it, or good memories as you recall them. Those times of the past are usually remembered fondly and happily, leading you to feel contentment and joy. The moments of happiness, you are told, you will have, makes you feel complete, reasonably happy, and probably content for the future prospect of happiness, if you believe it. But could the happiness you may feel right now be the only real happiness? The moment you breathe the air, the moment you talk, the moment you walk, moment you live your life remains always the reality, and the moment is the happiest. If a belief system promotes a future well-being, it's a matter of you having a faith and belief that it will be so. If a belief system promotes that the past was good and people were happy, that will remain a dream and probably will make you feel that past was good. And therefore, recalling the past will make you feel reasonably happy, even if it was only temporarily so. But if a belief system makes you understand that happiness is now, and you feel it right at this very moment, you are content for good. Eastern belief systems usually are like that, whereas Western belief systems talk almost always in the future terms. Then, which side do you think is the happiest? Question mark. Just ponder about it. You see, when you are happy, you know you are experiencing the moment of being in the now. When you were happy in the past remains still a memory of then. And when you think of becoming happier in the future is yet to come, it is still in a dream state. With regards to Western understanding of happiness, it is important to make comparisons between the two widely accepted traditions of analysis in the study of health and well-being. In philosophy, there's a word called hedonism, and it has been described as the ethical position claiming that pleasure or happiness is the highest feeling in good life, and that means people should pursue as much pleasure and as little pain as possible. In line with this philosophical position, psychological state also exists, claiming that human actions are determined by the desire to secure pleasure. There are hedonic-oriented psychologists who conceive well-being as identical to the subject of well-being. And this type of well-being is to assist as a predominance of positive over negative effect, and a global satisfaction with the life based on an individual's self and individual standards. We also discover an argument over the dominant view of happiness in the contemporary West, and that is basically hedonistic. But there's also the eudaimonistic tradition, which posits that a human being can live a good life only when they literally actualize their potential more than pursuing just pleasure and satisfaction of physical needs. Aristotle did not agree with hedonism as a way of becoming happier. Eudaimonism was always concerned with actualizing people's potential and capacities as human beings. Self-esteem, meaning in life, optimism, enjoyment of things people express, and autonomy was always emphasized in the theories of the West. Some of these values are very consistent with the dominant Western ethos. Contemporary culture, however, and Western psychological theories defined the concept of well-being as being based on positive affectivity and hedonic balance. Theories herein and those about happiness also focus partly on individual list of virtues such as self-determination, self-esteem, mastery, autonomy, and control. However, in the East, the notions of Taoism, Confucianism, Buddhism, Hinduism, and Sufism about happiness need to be reviewed. Confucianism is believed to be at the root of traditional system of thought, although the people in these parts of the world are influenced by other traditions, such as Taoism and Buddhism. Hinduism is the predominant religion in India, which has influenced many others, such as Buddhism and Taoism. Hinduism and Sufism were influenced in India, Pakistan, and the Persian world, like Iran, Tajikistan, Afghanistan, and other Farsi or Persian-speaking parts of the world, and becoming fully integrated into people's religious lives, affecting their way of thinking and behavior. Just think about it. The pursuit in Hindu starts with discovering one's true self. Indeed, Hinduism posits that the self consists of material and non-material qualities. The inner non-material self of every person is called Atman and Brahman, and both are identical. However, the material world veils this union. The ultimate aim of Hinduism is to realize this unity, to become one with Brahman. The aim, therefore, is to attain a higher consciousness, that one can understand that Atman as also being Brahman. As can be seen, Hinduism does not consider any difference between humankind and the Divine One. The whole life is considered as a preparation for, say, salvation. And that salvation involves transcending the ever-happening cycle of life, death, and rebirth, or samsara. Therefore, one who knows Brahman becomes Brahman, and the true knowledge can only come from one's own experience, requiring the development of high, non-physical consciousness, freeing one's mind from selfish desires, and therefore applying self-control by accepting the mystical knowledge, as well as the awareness of existence and identifying the divine. That makes Hinduism a very mystical religion indeed. Remembering that Hinduism promotes a spiritual form of happiness, we are encouraged to comprehend that true joy comes from contentment and peace of mind, acknowledging that everything dwells in the Supreme Being, Brahman. The elements contributing greatly to peace of mind means giving up all undesired desires, avoiding greed and attachment to transient or material objects like fame, glory, wealth, egotism, anger. By avoiding these, one is freed from the material self and ultimately becoming one with Brahman. Dharma is the principal governor here in defining the individual lives, composing regularity principle, The whole world and humans' work are controlled by Dharma. The human's role is to support this universal cosmic order, acting in accordance with Dharma. To uphold such an order in this world and control actions of individuals which may stop the soul's harmony with cosmic and social order. Human behavior must never lead to the restriction of vegetables or animals or heavenly realms. The cardinal virtues that need to be upheld are gratitude, non-violence, limitless compassion, and generosity, controlling the mind so that it can strongly rest on the object of interest at times and enduring difficulties without complaining and becoming upset. Acting this way, with these virtues, is believed to lead to a state of harmony inside and with the outer world in the universe. Buddhism, on the other hand, considers the notion of earning a permanent self with definite boundaries, and not only as illusions or imaginings, but also as the main source of unhappiness and selfishness or self-interest can be considered as a reliable indicators of any immature mind who has failed to realize that others have also their own extensions. Self-renunciation is thought to lead to endless love and compassion and removal of destructive stages of mind, as with anger and hatred, for example. Happiness must not be found outside and only in material gains and physical pleasures or even interpersonal relationships. It should be found in the heart through a spiritual training, learning, accepting. Remembering that happiness is the state of mind that ensues if we realize true states of the affairs, that is when we are awakened. Craving for unlawful desires brings with it its antithesis, aversion. When we, however, crave for something pleasant, we reject its opposite. Buddhism promotes that one can attain true freedom and peace if one outgrows the mental habit of reaching with either craving or aversion to perceptions of external stimuli. Buddhism promotes the state of happiness which is not dependent on any external or internal pleasures. There is no direct relationship between pleasure and happiness. Pleasure is temporary and generally is centered on the self, which can make us selfish. And sometimes it is in conflict with a self-well-being of others. The Buddhist understanding or well-being is based on mental balance, which can be cultivated by reflecting on the unsatisfying nature of hedonic pleasures and by identifying the inner causes of real well-being. In the last step in the path to happiness is to comprehend that we are one with others. And this is not only to lead us to obtaining happiness, but also bringing peace and harmony into the life of others. In Tibetan Buddhism, a meditational practice is prescribed for coping with suffering. By reflecting that there are many other sentient people undergoing similar sufferings, by taking on other people's sufferings, it is understood that we might be able to eliminate the cause of our own sufferings. All this points to the ultimate goal in Buddhism. It is not individuals' happiness, but freeing all sentient people from sufferings. Happiness is understood, in the Buddhist way at least, is not necessarily incompatible with suffering, tragedy, and sadness, but happiness is not premised on hedonic balance. Therefore, a Buddhist should try to grasp the true essence of happiness and sadness, not to favor anyone. This one maintains that suffering can be beneficial for all, if one can transform those situations into factors and into a spiritual path. Any kind of hindrance will become favorable conditions for spiritual practice. Perceiving this self as separate from the non-self can lead to unnecessary desires, and those desires are blamed for causing suffering. To stop the suffering, one needs to achieve a state of inner peace, realizing that the separation of the self will lead to ending of self is but an illusion. We can call this the awakening, if you like. And it is manifested in endless love and compassion for all. Sufism is a philosophy which tries to explain the world, mankind, and God dependent on intuitive knowledge and direct experience more than just reasoning and using the so-called logic. A basic concept in this psychology is based in the heart, for example, where gnosis and spiritual knowledge reside. The heart is understood to contain our deeper intelligence and wisdom. This philosophy aspires to developing a soft feeling, compassionate heart. Comprehending through the heart's intelligence is far superior to simply understanding through the intelligence in the head. The intelligence of the heart is the only key that can be used to find the ultimate truth. The reason is limited in many ways and cannot outgrow its inherent limitations. When reason denies intuitive knowledge, and in a sense blinds the eye of the heart, it becomes the very target of strong criticism from this philosophy. It stands in stark contrast to the Aristotelian and contemporary Western emphasis on reasoning as the highest human faculty, which could rule the whole personality. One other concept in Sufism is the ego, the self, or the nefs. The ego is part of our psyche that constantly leads us off the spiritual path. This is part of the self commanding us to do evil. It is metaphorically explained that the ego's ultimate aim is to overthrow God's dominion of the heart and for the ego to proclaim itself as the Lord. According to Kabani, the ego can impede the actualization of the spiritual potential of the heart if not controlled, by the divine aspects of the personality. The ego should be actively fought against throughout life. Pursuing the Sufi path might lead to some mystical experiences of destruction or ending of the self and unity of being. The ending of the spiritual self refers to the destruction of the individual self needing to become one with the divine being, who is omnipresent. The soul is then completely integrated by the presence of God or Allah that is no longer has an individuality. Like in the East, gaining internal and external harmony is emphasized. Sufis consider that the secret of existence of individual and the whole cosmos lies in one thing, and that is balance. Thus, this harmony in thinking and the external world is considered to lead to illness. To gain such a balance, one needs to wholeheartedly love God and accept whatever God or Allah ordains, including losses and hardship. In this philosophy, they embrace suffering as a necessary element of the path to God. Like the Sufi poet or Jalaluddin Rumi says, the self will not go in gladness and with caresses. It must be chased with sorrow and drowned in tears. Sufis believe that God is with those hearts that are broken for him. They use an analogy that gold ore becomes gold after it is put through a process of fire. They need to be transformed to a true lover of God through suffering. It can be interpreted as hardship and suffering are seen as blessings and gifts from God to help the individual abandon their attachment to this world and transform themselves to a true lover of God. And what most representatively characterizes misunderstanding of happiness is a combination of inner harmony, contentment, self-transcendence, and union with the divine. This brings us back to the subject of time of our lives and our so-called nows. The time, now, and the concept of time explores the nature of time and its relationship to the present moment. It is considered as a continuous flow of events, whereas now presents the specific point in that flow where we exist and experience the present moment. Let me elaborate a little more, if I may. Let us consider time as a dimension of its own. In physics, time is considered as a dimension. It is often connected with space as space-time, thus suggesting that time is an intrinsic part of the universe and its actual structure. Relativity of time. Albert Einstein's theories of relativity demonstrate that time is not absolute, but relative to the observer's frame of reference. This means that time can be perceived differently by individuals in different states of motion or locations. The flow of experience. We all experience time as it continues to flow, where the past has passed and the present is happening. And the future is yet to come. This subjective experience of time can differ from the objective measurements of time. Now is a focal point. The concept of now represents the present moment, the point where our perception and experience of time are focused. It is the boundary between the past and the future. Philosophical perspective. Philosophers have explored the nature of time, questioning whether it exists fundamentally or is an illusion of our minds. Some argue that time is a construct of our perception, while others maintain that it has a more fundamental existence. Scientific measurement. Time is measured using various tools, from everyday clocks to advanced atomic clocks, as you know, which provide increasingly precise standards for timekeeping. Time in different contexts. Time has different meanings in various contexts. In daily life, it is used for scheduling, organizing events, and measuring durations. In physics, however, it is a fundamental aspect of the universe, affecting the laws of nature. The problem of time in physics. Physicists grapple with reconciling the different understandings of time in general relativity and quantum mechanics. In general relativity, time is linked to space and time and gravity, while in quantum mechanics, time is often treated as the parameter that is not fundamentally real. Dr. Eckhart Blumstein says, "The now is, to me, the end of the past and the beginning of the future. It is not a fixed position in time, but only an ideal, i.e. extensionless reference point, logically not a state but a cut. It has no clear beginning and no end. Presentism and eternalism are unnecessary and wrong altogether." As we know, Einstein confessed that the now worries him seriously because he denied the objective border between past and future. How can we determine the concept of time and then? That's a good question. Is there somehow an end to time, or does it go on forever? An author attempts to answer this, first of all, saying, time as we humans perceive it is the expression of two broad concepts, change and the application of duration for each change or iteration. This means that the meaning we perceive as instances of occurrences appear to us to have the ability of each to iterate or repeat as a form or version of that particular something, and that each such iteration has some or many of the same attributes, character or essence, as the previous one in the same category. Do humans categorize time as an evolutionary phenomenon, perhaps, with the word evolution and ensconcing durational change? This is, in fact, is the critical nature of our reality, and importantly, underpins the origin of the phenomenon we call time. Tony Goldsmith, the author of Space-Time for Absolute Beginners, writes thus: "For nearly a century, we have believed that there was a big bang. This implied a beginning to our universe and a beginning to time. This meant that it could have been a time when there was no time." Simon Bridge, the physicist, says, "Things can have beginnings and endings within time. Thus, time itself cannot have a beginning or end. We do not know if there is one in the future. If the Big Crunch variations are true, then there would be one there too." Walt Huber says, "To me, there is no such thing as time. Time is a human-created concept to help us keep track of our lives, moving from moment to moment, and help us relate to things in the past and things that might or will happen in the future. So we will have time around us as long as humans survive and want a way to keep track of our lives." Obviously, time does not really exist. It is indeed our way to keep track of changes. The world was certainly just the same before man became a thinking being, counting the days, preparing for changes in the seasons, and so forth. And those things were happening even long before us humans. But today, we have the need to measure the physical changes in our world and to measure physical alterations in today's existence to calculate physical changes in the world and possibly to estimate the age of things that existed long before us. Simply put, now is the very present moment that stretches into infinity, and at the same time, it exists forever and never ending. Anthony Proctor, the author of On Time, Causality, and the Block Universe, writes thus: "In our minds, then, this special moment clearly exists. In our lives, those of other conscious species are absolutely bound to that notion. But it does not exist in physics. No equation singles out a special now, and relativity even precludes the existence of any such absolute moment." Let us look at a few of the consequences of there being a now. It is a moment that separates our known past from our unknown future. This boundary appears to progress, giving us the notion of temporal flow and of dynamic change, leading to an empirical principle of quotation through which we try to make sense of that change. We deem things to be happening or becoming at this special moment, and yet we are always slightly behind the curve. We only see past evidence in terms of light, sound, and each even touch. We never really experienced change as it happens. There is no experiment that can establish now as objectively real, i.e. independent of conscious observation. Because we always need conscious intervention to assess any evidence. The alternative to our world of presentism is known as eternalism, and this is all that our mathematics is capable of describing. Hence, even if we could solve this question, then our mathematical physics would be unaffected. I have not answered your why, because it is inherently unanswerable. But hopefully I will give a hint as to how much depends on the present moment and how much would be affected if we could show that it is a mental construct only. With that, I will wish you a very happy time, smiling. Keep happy and rejoice. Until we will meet you by the next episode and further, thank you.